AWA TV Episode 12 Part 2 kicks off with the Dead Man, the winner of the men's Golden Gauntlet match, one-on-one against the runner-up of the men's Golden Gauntlet match, Mr. Chris Sabin of the Motor City Machine Guns. And hopefully, hopefully Sabin makes his entrance first. Don't get me wrong, I love The Undertaker. He always used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. However, I wish he would walk a little bit faster. That is a good point. I do miss the bike. Definitely I will say, personally, even though I wasn't alive for it, technically, my favorite version of The Undertaker was Ministry Undertaker. I watched it on the network and watched it on Peacock. Definitely my favorite version of The Undertaker was Ministry Taker. We won't talk about the sacrifices. We're just saying pure storyline based. It was the best version of The Undertaker. Now, of course, well, this isn't up. I'm not Teddy Long. This is not. I cannot stress this enough to people, to the fans, who come at me sometimes for punishing people in matchmaking. I have gotten multiple people texting me upset of the treatment of one Brooks Jensen. This is not a punishment for Chris Sabin. He did nothing wrong. This is a match Chris Sabin asked for. Of course, The Undertaker, the man who will main event the first ever WrestleFest, could not go to a more deserving person. Just imagine that man right there walking down the aisle at WrestleFest, walking into a match for the AWA Championship. Look, if he does at our WrestleFest what he did in WWE's WrestleMania, I'm going to be genuinely concerned for whoever the AWA champion is come WrestleFest. Well, my message to the locker room, especially to the AWA champion, is that person right now being Gunther, if you are able to retain your title, Gunther, when it comes to the Chamber of Champions match where you defend against 5 other men inside the chamber, just know that is what that is who's walking down the aisle at WrestleFest in the main event. That 6'11", 300-pound man who just got an enziguri to the face. Yeah, it's definitely, and of course, I wouldn't. Most people that we've seen when they break that collar elbow tie up, they go for a cheap shot, definitely not going for a cheap shot against that man right there. You're going to do this stuff by the book. And speaking of by the book, my match book is in front of me currently, and after having conversations with both, which was very hard to do when it comes to the Wyatt Six, with both the Wyatt Six team, the Bloodline, and then having a conversation with the new tag team champions, the Street Profits, I do have an announcement to make, which I will make at the end of this match with a big boot by The Undertaker. Cover now by Taker. Best pure striker going to town now, taking out the knee of the much smaller Sabin. But that's usually a strategy we see from the smaller competitors in matches, taking out the knees of the bigger opponents. We've seen The Undertaker take losses to people like Rey Mysterio, RVD, in other places. Of course, this is his first, which I kind of regret saying this, and I'm shocked that I'm saying this, and I apologize as not only co-owner but matchmaker as well. I do apologize to any AWA faithful out there that's upset about this factoid. This is The Undertaker and Chris Sabin's, nonetheless, first one-on-one match in AWA, period, not just against each other. They have not wrestled in AWA yet. This is their first match in general. And they are just taking it to each other. WWE has their green shirt guy, and we have our red shirt guy. Oh, no. That might not go well for Sabin. He just busted open The Undertaker, who just fell to the outside. And now Sabin just mocking the dead man. I don't know if the tope to the outside. I don't know if I'd necessarily call them balls, but I mean, he definitely has something. Maybe not a beating heart by the time The Undertaker may be done, if The Undertaker can get momentum going again. Top rope now, and now Taker is really he's reeling here. Never mind. Oh, and Sabin has really had an answer for most of Undertaker's offense here. Oh, no. He is goozled, and he is now planted by the chokeslam, and the straps are coming down. And if this is the scene at WrestleFest, we will have a new AWA champion. And this has to be at 1, 2, and Sabin. I am flabbergasted. Sabin just kicked out of the tombstone and the chokeslam. Imagine if a sidewalk slam puts him away, but not a tombstone. And a tombstone, a choke slam wasn't enough, but Sabin couldn't answer the call to a sidewalk slam. I understand, but I honestly I don't know if I definitely know I wouldn't have kicked out of that. That is, I mean, again, regardless of how it would happen, could this be the sight at WrestleFest? The Undertaker standing tall over whoever his fallen foe would be as the new AWA champion. What a match it was. And now we move on to another women's qualifying match for the women's Chamber of Champions match. Of course, earlier tonight, Charlotte Flair qualified by defeating none other than Io Sky, and now Carmella and Rhea Ripley both look to qualify for this match. Exactly. Now, of course, speaking of Chamber of Champions, before we go further, an announcement about Chamber of Champions and the tag team title debacle that the Wyatt Six, the Street Profits, and the Bloodline find themselves in. Wyatt Six want their rematch at Chamber of Champions. The Bloodline want their rematch at Chamber of Champions. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give them both their rematches at the same time. At Chamber of Champions, the Street Profits will defend the AWA Tag Team titles against both Tama Tonga and Tongaloa of the Bloodline and two members from the Wyatt Six in a triple threat tag team title match. Former running mate of James Ellsworth. It's funny. I enjoy going and watching James Ellsworth still to this very day. As you know, he wrestles in a lot of indie promotions around different places, and I go quite often to see him wrestle. Unfortunately, haven't seen Carmella yet. Unfortunately, which is the real reason I go. Now, Carmella was in the women's Golden Gauntlet match. She came in number 19 before being eliminated, I believe, by La Primera, Stephanie Vaquer, who unfortunately was not able to deliver a Devil's Kiss in the Golden Gauntlet. I haven't had Booker T on standby. the top Australian in the company currently. You know what? Mommy's always on top. Rhea. It's a little past May 4th there, boss. Unfortunately. I wish it was, but if it was May the 4th, I'd be re-upping my Disney Plus so I could have my Star Wars marathon. Definitely fantasies. And now Carmella taking the early advantage over Rhea Ripley, and then she eats an elbow to the face for her troubles. Ripley now taking advantage back. Ripley, who was in the Women's Golden Gauntlet match, came in number 29 before being eliminated by the eventual runner-up and the eventual winner, who they teamed up on her, Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch, of course, winning that match, earning the right to main event the first ever WrestleFest Night 1. I don't think that was a smart idea for Ripley to go ahead and showboat there. Maybe she'll prove me wrong, and she will. The strength paying off for Ripley. You know, a V-trigger type knee there. Now a cover to punch her ticket. Of course, tonight's main event, immediately following this match, a treat for all fans. The women's world title on the line. Cora Jade demanding her rematch for the women's world championship against the woman who beat her at Golden Gauntlet, none other than Liv Morgan. Currently, Liv Morgan is slated to walk into the Chamber of Champions as the women's world champion. However, big tadpole splash. I can't say for certain whether or not I would want to really win the Women's World Championship if I were Cora Jade, knowing where you were going to walk into. And now Ripley looking for the Riptide, connecting. And Ripley punches her ticket to the Women's Chamber of Champions, where she will currently be taking on Charlotte Flair and Liv Morgan. Of course, also 2 more qualifying matches to go. Next week, one of them will happen. Alexa Bliss, one-on-one with Jada Parker. Of course, we will also have the first 2 men's qualifying matches. CM Punk, one-on-one with Braun Breaker, of course, and the former AWA champion LA Knight, one-on-one against him, Carmelo Hayes. I gotta say, though, Carmelo has he's bumped his stock up a little bit. You know, he took Eddie Guerrero to the limit, took AJ Styles to the limit. Gotta say, if you were a betting man, you know, Carmelo had a great showing at the men's Golden Gauntlet. I gotta say, some people may be putting their money on Carmelo, but I don't know where. If you were a betting man, especially with the Judgment Day backing, I think you would put your money on Liv Morgan to walk in and out as women's world champion. All it took from Liv Morgan was one Oblivion to put down Cora Jade. Cora Jade not able so far to kick out of Oblivion. Which, in my opinion, that would mean that if Liv Morgan hits Oblivion here tonight, then Cora Jade would again lose to Liv Morgan and lose her rematch for the Women's World Championship. But, of course, that's not the end of her Women's World title saga should she lose tonight. There is a qualifying match slated for Cora Jade should she lose this match against Nikki Cross, which, if she wins this match, that spot will go to Liv Morgan. And speaking of Liv Morgan, here comes the new Women's World Champion. The beautiful Women's World Title Championship, or Women's World Championship, around the waist of the Judgment Day's Liv Morgan. Bringing up the rear there, Raquel Rodriguez. Could you imagine if Liv Morgan retained here tonight, and if she would have retained at Golden Gauntlet, or at a Chamber of Champions, and if Raquel would have won the women's Golden Gauntlet? What a situation that would have been for everybody involved. Too much drama already engulfs the Judgment Day, in my opinion. This, your main event for the Women's World Championship. I don't know why that's so blurry. Former champion Cora Jade. Your current Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan. That belt looks huge on her, I gotta say. Former champion, current champion. Title on the line, your main event, and we are underway. Gotta say, a little bit of history being made here. First ever women's main event on AWA TV. It took us about 30,000 less episodes to put women in the main event than it did WWE, but you know what? We're not going to go there. Cora Jade looks pissed off about losing her title, and now the top rope senton now really taking it to the new champion. Could you imagine losing the belt just a little while ago at Golden Gauntlet and then winning the belt back 1 week later on AWA TV? Cover now to retain her title. Justin, you've been in championship matches before. You felt this kind of electricity. Tell me what's going through the mind of both champion and challenger in a situation like this. Wait a minute. Two, Cora Jade almost recapturing her women's world title. Well, now here, this could be it. This could be a new champion crowned. But keep in mind, she's thrown her best offense at Liv Morgan, knowing in the back of Cora Jade, knowing in the back of her mind that she has not been able to kick out of Liv Morgan's best shot, the Oblivion. Codebreaker 2, and wait a minute, Liv Morgan, a shocking retaining of the title. Liv Morgan will walk in to the Chamber of Champions match as the Women's World Champion. I thought she had it right here. I really did. I thought that was it for Liv Morgan's reign would have been short-lived as Women's World Champion, but that was not the case. And just Cora, I don't think Cora was quite ready for it, and she just fell to it. Already a tall order. If it was just a triple threat match, it would be impossible for her to walk out already with both Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley already qualifying. But now you have now there's the opportunity for Cora Jade to qualify again against Nikki Cross next week on AWA TV, plus Alexa Bliss and Jada Parker. It's going to be very hard for Liv Morgan to walk out of that chamber match as the Women's World Champion. Before we let you go tonight, we'll recap the action. Charlotte Flair qualifying for the Chamber of Champions match, defeating Damage Control's Io Sky. Santos Escobar, again, Legado del Fantasma, knocking off a member of the Judgment Day in Carlito. And then, who is now 0-4 in AWA, Brooks Jensen, in what is probably moment of the year, falling to Booker T. He sure done did. As did Akam, although in an unsuccessful attempt to knock off Mr. Damn himself, Farouk. Although the upstarts didn't have a completely unsuccessful night, the megastar Logan Paul knocking off the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, and now Logan Paul has the opportunity to qualify for the men's Chamber of Champions match when he goes one-on-one against Ludwig Kaiser next week. A situation where I never thought I'd be rooting for Ludwig Kaiser, and a match that ended up having extreme Chamber of Champions implications. Randy Orton knocking off Grayson Waller, earning himself an opportunity at Waller's Intercontinental title at Chamber of Champions. Oh, I can only imagine if Randy Orton is able to walk out of there as the Intercontinental Champion. I don't think anybody's ever going to take that title off him. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to knock off The Undertaker in the hot streak he's riding, knocking off Chris Sabin tonight, winning the men's Golden Gauntlet match. Taker is really starting to feel it. There's a reason he is The Undertaker and why he has been so successful. And of course, speaking of success, Rhea Ripley knocking off Carmella to punch her ticket to Chamber of Champions, where she will join Liv Morgan and Charlotte Flair in the women's Chamber of Champions match. And then our main event, Liv Morgan retaining her newly won Women's World Championship over the former champion, Cora Jade. Now Liv Morgan will walk in to Chamber of Champions as the Women's World Champion. But the question remains, will she be the Women's World Champion? And will she be the one to defend against the winner of the Women's Golden Gauntlet, Becky Lynch, at WrestleFest? And that will end AWA TV Episode 12, Part 2. And we will see you for AWA TV Episode 13 very shortly. Please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you guys do. and we will see you in the next one. Justin, please send us off.